published, and what date is it going to be published in, and do you have the phone number for the newspaper? And then you just phone up that newspaper and say, how can I buy a copy of the, June 2nd issue of your paper that has the tax sale list? And they'll say, well, send us a buck and we'll send you the list. Or the treasurer, if you're living in the same county, the treasurer will probably say, well, you can contact the newspaper, or you can come down and we've got extra copies of the newspaper that the paper has given us, and we'll give you a copy or we'll sell you a copy for $1. So a lot of it is just education. Well, let's say we have you bought a certificate for $1,000, and say we're dealing with Texas. We bought a tax deed encumbered by a 6-month period of redemption, and we paid $1,000. And if it gets redeemed, then we get that 25% penalty. It gets redeemed in 1 month, so we get $1,000 plus our $250, and we got that in 1 month. We got our astronomical 600% return. How does all that work? Well, in almost every state, what happens is the property owner will go into the tax collector treasurer's office and will pay the amount that you paid for the certificate and pay the amount of interest that you're due to that tax collector treasurer, and then it's the tax collector treasurer, sometimes in Texas the assessor collector, who will then pay you. So you as the certificate investor almost literally never ever have any contact or have to have any contact with the property owner. Everything is done through a government agency, typically the county treasurer's office. When you get paid, what you do is you get paid with a government check. You get paid with the county treasurer's check, so that when you get that check, you know it's good. You deposit, it's going to clear. Obviously, anybody that gets involved in tax, let's take the tax certificates, is going to be concerned with, are there any risks? Equally, obviously, with any kind of an investment, there are going to be some risks. But if you know what you're doing and you invest prudently, you should be in a situation where, for instance, you have a $1,000 certificate secured by a $100,000 property, or a $2,000 certificate secured by a $200,000 property. It's a first lien against that property. You've got that 2% loan to value, which means there isn't any real big risk. Okay, now what might be a risk? Okay, I've known of individuals who first got started with tax certificate investing who thought, well, I'll kind of dabble at it, and they go into a tax sale, or they go and buy over the counter, and they buy something for $10 or $20. Just, I'm going to just give it a try, see what the process is all about. And the irony is that that typically is a pretty dumb investment, because if there's only $10 worth of taxes, okay, then what's the value of the property? Well, $10 is 1% of what? A fairly inexpensive property. If that property is a $1,000 property, I mean, the assessor says it's only worth $1,000, or maybe it's worth $400. Well, if a property is worth that little amount of money, I mean, how are you going to get the property sold? Most people, when they resell a property, are going to list the property with a brokerage firm. You got a $1,000 property, and they charge you, say, a 10% real estate brokerage commission. Well, 10% of $1,000 is $100. and they're going to have a cooperating real estate brokerage firm bring in an offer and split the $100 50-50. So we got $50 with one firm and $50 with another, and then you got the broker and the salesperson that sold it, and they're going to split it somehow 50-50 or 90-10. Well, obviously, real estate brokerage firms are not interested in those inexpensive properties. So if you're going to get that property back, you're going to have to figure out how to sell it yourself. So if you don't want to get into that trap, okay, you don't want to buy that kind of property, then you want to make sure that when you buy a certificate, the property securing the certificate is a property you want to buy. Now, if you want to buy a $1,000 property, okay, buy the $10 certificate. But if you want, you know, if you want security that is, you know, decent, such that if you get that back, you can flip it, you can resell it and make money, then you want to take a look at the quality of the certificate. You want to see, for instance, if there's a house. I mean, in other words, certificate is not an investment where you go in and buy the cheapest one. You buy the one that's the best secured. And that's probably the area of biggest mistake. Remember that if a person doesn't pay off the certificate, then you get the property. So you want to make sure that the property you get is a property that you would want to get. So what you need to do is to make sure that the security, the property, that security for the certificate is something you would want to own.